Hello, I am Christian Sorrell, the designer of Tacticians of Ahm, and in this video, I'm going to discuss what makes Tacticians of Ahm different from other TTRPGs, give a short example of play, and tell you a bit about the digital fantasy world of Ahm. Tacticians of Ahm is a tabletop role-playing game of fantasy adventures in a corrupting digital world. Ahm is the world within a forgotten and dying video game, whether that be a bit-rotting 90s game cartridge or an overlooked server shard of an aging MMO. Players take on the role of recently graduated tacticians within the video game world, who do not know the true nature of their simulated existence, who enrolled in the Tacticians Academy to fight back against corruption, the dangerous bit rot spreading from the newly formed Isle of Darkwill to the far north, just slowly overtaking more and more of the world as time goes by. Amidst the chaos, Ahm itself has fractured, many of its regional governments splitting off from the Empire to better protect themselves. Tacticians are a loose-knit union of varied defenders, not soldiers under direct Imperial command, coming from all walks of Ahmian life, who fight back against the digital death of their world however they're able, whether it be in combat, in caring for others, or through more diplomatic means if possible. Mechanically, Tacticians of Ahm is focused on streamlined adventuring and fast, grid-based tactical combat. Combat and non-combat play is largely separate mechanically, like in many video games. The game uses a few core rules to create fast, decisive tactical combat that maintains the exciting moments and memorable interactions of traditional TTRPGs without slowing the pace of play to a crawl. As such, Tacticians of Ahm requires battle grids and minis or tokens to play. Outside of combat, Tacticians of Ahm is a straightforward, open, and player-driven game. First, base attacks, weapon attacks, and abilities all have patterns of effect that are communicated visually using a small grid centered around the combatant. The color of each square gives a quick visual indicator of what the ability does. Red for damage, green for healing, and blue for conditions or other special effects. Second, battles take place on small maps, generally ranging from 8x8 to 12x12. This keeps the action tight and makes positioning a key element of tactical success. Battle maps can be fully illustrated, traditional gridded combat maps, or may also be represented more simply. Squares are either open to move through or totally blocked as obstacles. Finally, there's one large element of combat that makes Tacticians of Ahm unique. Almost no dice, your attacks always hit, and damage is set. Here are the basic rules of battle. Attacks and abilities always hit and always deal damage and effects. Attacks and abilities deal damage and or effects to all combatants within their area of effect, including friendly targets. Attacks and abilities targeting a combatant from directly behind them deal double damage. This is referred to as a backstab. Because of backstabs, smart positioning can be paramount, and a combatant's facing matters. Additionally, nothing is more precious to a tactician than their allies. The longer a group fights and lives together, the closer they become. As you fight alongside your fellow tacticians, you will earn relationship points, or RP, with certain members of your group after most battles. From relationship level 1 and beyond, you may call on your relationship during your turn in battle to request aid from your ally. Invoking your relationship grants the other tactician one immediate action. The relationship system rewards good teamwork by giving you more and more chances to pull off powerful combos in the future and become good friends while doing it. Lastly, every ability and weapon in the game scales with you as you advance, retaining its usefulness even at higher levels, or it grants a powerful utility that always works, regardless of player or enemy level. An ability taken at level 1 will still be useful to you at level 10. As tacticians progress and head farther out across the world and into more and more corrupted areas, they will encounter a slew of strange environmental effects and strange enemies, some purely aesthetic and others changing and reworking the core rules of battle, introducing moments of unexpected chance, cheat code-like abilities, and more. Tacticians can even choose to wield corrupted magic items to gain an advantage on the battlefield, but some say that to wield the corruption is to spread it, and is even to be corrupted by it. So what's the system like outside of combat? As tacticians, many things that need to be done are well within your everyday abilities, but some carry exceptional risk or are particularly difficult, even for someone trained for a life on the road. When a tactician's action carries a high level of risk and is interesting if it both succeeds or fails, the GM may call for an aptitude check. All rolls in Tacticians of Ahm are made with a d20. To succeed an aptitude check, the result must be lower than the tactician's relevant aptitude value. These are the 4 stats in Ahm: strength, alacrity, tenacity, and knowledge. On a failure, the tactician suffers a consequence. Sometimes that may come in the form of harm, typically taken as 1 or more death pips, the only long-lasting damage in Ahm. In other situations, it may lead to an enemy stumbling upon the tacticians, a path being closed to the party going forward, and other options. Aptitude actions can even be taken in combat to do something unusual or outside the standard scope of play. When rolling a 1 on an aptitude check, you succeed with aplomb and trigger a flashback. You succeed with maximum effect, and the GM will typically grant you something additional of value. As the player, you get to narrate a scene showing something your tactician experienced in their past and how it aided them in this present success. Let me walk you through some examples, one in combat and another out of combat. Let's look at Akron, a level 1 human fighter, and Centembrini, a level 1 goatfolk cleric, as they navigate the battlefield against 2 goblins. This battle map represents a lightly wooded area with a large rock on one side, that's the 2x2 obstacle, and 2 small trees, the 2 1x1 obstacles. Through smart use of their abilities and focused movements, our duo of tacticians can quickly best their foes. Tacticians always act first. Centembrini has the highest speed among the tacticians at speed 4, so he takes the first turn. He uses his full movement to reach the space immediately behind Akron. At level 1, Centembrini took the cleric ability Wrathful Blessing, allowing him to grant Akron +1 damage and +1 speed on his next turn. Because Centembrini was able to reach the correct positioning and has not exhausted this ability earlier in this battle, he just does it. No rolling required. Next, the highest speed enemy combatant takes their turn. Because both combatants are goblins with speed 4, they act in any order determined by the GM at the start of the battle. Speed ties work the same way for tacticians, but the tacticians decide rather than the GM. Goblin number 1 on the upper left takes its turn first, moving 2 squares in order to face Akron directly, and uses its base attack, doing 1 damage. Akron is now down to 5 health. Fighters are by far the hardiest class starting out. Now, the next tactician in speed order takes their turn, Akron. With Centembrini's blessing, his strength as a fighter, and careful attention to enemy positioning, Akron is able to make a powerful move. Due to the Wrathful Blessing, Akron now has speed 4, up from his base of 3. And he's able to position himself directly behind Goblin number 2 and use his level 1 ability. At level 1, Akron took Lunge, allowing him to deal twice his fighter level in damage to 3 squares directly in front of him. Lunge deals 2 damage for Akron at his current level, but with Centembrini's Wrathful Blessing, that raises to 3 damage. And then, because Akron was able to position himself directly behind both enemies, he triggers a backstab and deals double damage, for a total of 6 damage on all squares affected by Lunge to both targets in this case. Both goblins drop to the floor dead, each only having 3 health to begin with, and the tacticians are victorious. In the aftermath, both tacticians take +1 XP for a successful battle, and 1 relationship point with one another for that crucial Blessing Lunge combo. Out of combat, rolls are infrequent but simple to execute, even with advantage and disadvantage. For example, Senna attempts to break down an iron-reinforced wooden door. Due to the door's unusually strong construction, the GM calls for a strength check with disadvantage. Senna rolls an 8 and a 15, takes the higher of the 2 results due to the disadvantage, in this case 15, which is over her strength score of 13, and fails. She brings her weapon down against the door with tremendous force, but it bounces off and smashes back into her head. She takes 1 death pip and needs a moment to recover from the blow. While I could go on and on about the world of Ahm, show off dozens of cool abilities and more, this gives you an idea of the core concepts that make Tacticians of Ahm unique. Tacticians of Ahm is Itchfunding starting on January 16th, 2024, to bring the game from its current rules complete but basic layout and the little art stage to a fully featured RPG product, complete with loads of art and professional layout. Over the next 9 months or so, I will be continuing to build out the game, including a starter campaign to take tacticians from levels 1 to 4, and a setting guide that is going to add more classes, magic items, enemy, and lore to the game to be discovered as you explore the continent of Ahm. You can pick up the game now for just $15 and get all the future content as a free update. The price of the game will increase with each monthly update until it caps out at $45 for the complete 3-zine package. So now is a great time to get on board and help me bring Tacticians of Ahm to its final form. Thank you for watching.